Hey, this is Joshua with Cultural Catholic coming at you with another International Wednesday. A little rundown of what's going to be talked about today. First, we're going to talk about North Korea. Something crazy is going on there again. Then we will move on to a quick story about Russia, and then finally end with a story on Jordan. So let's get right into this. So CNN reports today. Um, was it today? Yesterday, that the U.S. military has detected highly unusual and unprecedented levels of North Korean submarine activity, evidence of an ejection test in the days following uh, following in the days following Pyongyang's second intercontinental ballistic missile launch this month, a defense official told CNN on Monday. An ejection test examines a missile's cold launch system, which uses high-pressure steam to propel a missile out of a launch canister into the air before its engines ignite. That helps prevent flames and heat from the engine from damaging either the submarine, submersible barge, or any nearby equipment used to launch the missile. So basically, what this is saying is North Korea is starting to test its capabilities to launch ballistic missiles from their submarines. This is something that the U.S. has capabilities of. If you've ever seen video of this happening, it basically is a missile just coming out of the water, starting to go down, and then the engines ignite, and it just rockets up, so to speak. And North Korea is starting to test that. It's said that this is the fourth test this year and third time this month. Um, and Going on, coupled with reports of increased submarine activity, news of another ejection test comes amid concerns over North Korea's launch of an intercontinental ballistic missile that appears to have the range to hit major U.S. cities on Friday. Experts believe if Friday's test had been fired on a flatter, standard trajectory, it could have threatened cities like Los Angeles, Denver, and Chicago. President Donald Trump told reporters at his second full cabinet meeting that his administration will be able to take care of North Korea, but offer no specifics about what he plans to do. Uh, we will handle North Korea. We are going to be able to handle them if it will be handled. We handle everything, Trump said after a reporter asked him about his strategy. Um, so that was just a little bit of context as to what's going on. So North Korea is starting to test ballistic missiles. The first one that they tested that was actually successful could have reached Alaska or Hawaii. The second one that was tested on Friday could reach the continental U.S. and it's just showing that the North Koreans are a lot farther ahead in their missile technology than we anticipated. However, what is kind of unsettling is I kind of remember the strategy for Iraq. It was get in, topple government, step three. There was no step three. They didn't really have a plan after toppling Saddam. And so not having a clear plan to deal with this is a little unsettling. There are talks that there is scuttlebutt that there could be a diplomatic attempt to an attempt to directly talk to them and find a diplomatic solution, which would be ideal. However, we have Donald Trump as president, so he could decide literally anything, and we are a nuclear armed country, so that's not a good combination. Um, Going further, Pyongyang has long maintained the ability to legitimately threaten the United States with a nuclear attack is the only way to protect itself against any U.S.-led attempts at regime change. Land-based and submarine-based missiles are considered two-thirds of what is known as the strategic triad, a theory that a state that must have land, air, and sea-based nuclear attack capabilities to successfully deter an enemy from trying to attack it. The current U.S. intelligence estimate Assessment is that the missile program aboard submarines remains in the very early stages. CNN reported earlier this month that North Korea had sent a diesel-powered Romeo-class sub on an unprecedented patrol and had been outfitting its Gore sub with a possible missile launch demonstration tube. So right down here, you can see the classes of submarines that they have. Currently, they have three classes. The largest class they have is Sang-O. It's a smaller submarine. They have a few older ones that are a little bit bigger, as well as one fairly large submarine. I don't know submarines as well as I do land warfare, but it seems like they are gearing up for a much better system to be considered a threat. And this is something that the nuclear threat thing is something that the North Koreans have been talking for about a while because, for instance, they've been citing Gaddafi. Gaddafi gave up his nuclear program, and a few years later, he was dead. So that's something that they view as a legitimate way to maintain their power. Again, with what we have as our president, this is not a good combination. Closing out the story, the submarine activity. That activity caused U.S. and South Korean forces to slightly raise their alert level, according to one official. The U.S. military pays close attention to North Korean submarine activity following the 2010 Cheonan incident where North Korean sub torpedoed a South Korean naval vessel. Last summer, North Korea conducted what experts believed was its first successful submarine missile test, firing a missile called the KN-11 or Poksong-1. My Korean is horrible because I don't speak Korean. So this is a development that is disturbing and we should really look at and really pay close attention to. Again, with who we have as president and with who they have as supreme leader, they're not really good combinations of what could happen. So we really do need to keep our eyes out. Now, on to Russia. So, the Hill reports today that NATO jets were sent to intercept 3 Russian military aircraft near Estonian airspace on Tuesday. Spanish and Finnish fighter jets were sent to intercept the airplanes, which were identified as 2 MiG-31 jets and an AN-26 transport plane, according to acting NATO spokesman Dylan White. So since Crimea was taken in 2014, Russia has been doing a lot of saber rattling. There's been quite a bit of Russian action in eastern Ukraine, although officially they say they're not in eastern Ukraine. And the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, have been very concerned. One of them, I think Lithuania, actually reinstituted the draft to up its military capabilities for defense, even though they'd be up against the largest and best trained army in Europe. So that is concerning for a few reasons. Again, we have a man-child in charge who could decide to do something crazy at any point in time. And as you can see here, Russia's military drills near NATO border raises fears of aggression, as New York Times reported on the 31st, so Monday. So if we keep our eyes on this and hopefully keep our elected officials to the feet to the fire, we will not end up in a war, because that is not good, and a lot of Democrats and Republicans are doing saber rattling as well because of the suspected possible Russian tampering with our election. So we need to, again, keep our officials' feet to the fire and get them to not go to war. That is a difficult prospect, I will admit, but it is something we need to at least try to do. Now for a happy story. CBS News reports that the lower house of Jordan's parliament on Tuesday scrapped a provision in the kingdom's penal code that allowed a rapist to escape punishment if he married his victim. Cheers erupted from the spectators' gallery as legislators narrowly voted for repeal following an emotional debate. The vote was hailed as a major step forward for women in the conservative kingdom. So a little bit of background. There are a few countries around the world that have these laws on the book that say if you're raped, your rapist can get away with it if they marry the person they raped. These are predominantly in Middle Eastern and South American countries, as well as Tajikistan and the Philippines. And there's also a cultural, beyond Tajikistan, there's a cultural aspect to this in Central Asia, the rest of the stands, where something similar can go on, although that is officially illegal. And uh, Jordan joins Tunisia, Egypt, and Morocco in getting rid of this law. Um, so it's a really good, important step. The CBS News article continues. Despite the country's pro-Western political orientation and cosmopolitan urban elites, many areas of Jordan remain socially conservative with entrenched notions of family honor. This includes the belief that having a rape victim in the family is shameful and that such shame can be expunged through marriage. In Tuesday's debate, some lawmakers had argued that an amended version of Article 308, the article in question that was ended, was needed to protect rape victims against social stigma by giving them the marriage option. In the end, the lawmakers voted in line with the recommendation of the government and a royal committee on legal reforms. Um, so Jordan is a U.S. ally, very strong U.S. ally, its government at least. But a lot of its people are still conservative socially, with as it was pointed out. And that's kind of a thing that's going on that the region as a whole needs to deal with. It's not like the codified laws in Saudi Arabia or the Gulf states that are a lot more religiously conservative and are much more Wahhabist or Salafist, which is Daesh's uh, uh, form of Sunni Islam. Um, but it is a good step that the lawmakers in Jordan were able to see that this needs to be fixed because this is not right. Just because, and the idea that a rape victim is shameful is, I get it. I understand it's from their cultural perspective, but um, culture can change. Cultures have changed, and I think this is an important step to helping that kind of change come about. Um, the article continues. The international rights group Rights Watch said Lebanon's parliament is also considering repealing such a provision. The clause remains on books in several other countries in the Middle East and Latin America, as I said, as well as in the Philippines and Tajikistan, HRW said. In a statement issued before Tuesday's vote, the New York-based watchdog said that scrapping Article 308 would be a positive step to strengthen the rule of law and end impunity for violence against women. Ahead of Tuesday's vote, several dozen activists rallied outside Parliament in Amman, the Jordanian capital, calling for the repeal. They held up banners reading, Article 308 is a disgrace to the Jordanian justice system, and Article 308 does not protect honor, it protects the culprit. Furthermore, um, uh, one of the leading activists, NIMS, said that some saw the provision as a form of protection for women who can demand marriage rather than suffer further social stigma for having been raped. The need for such protection indicates a fundamental problem in how Jordanian law and society perceives women, said Eva Abu Halawa, executive manager of Nisan for Law, a human rights group. The law still looks at women as bodies linked with honor, Abu Halawa said. Earlier this week, Parliament took another step towards legal reform, closing a legal loophole that had given courts the discretion to impose sentences of as little as 6 months on those who had killed female relatives in the name of family honor. Under the new amendment, killing in a fit of rage can no longer be considered a mitigating circumstance in such cases. Now that is a reference to honor killing, which is another common common practice in more conservative interpretations of Islam. And that, again, is not entirely linked to the religion. That is linked to culture. Culture and religion, they do this thing where they meet and they mix and they create the prevailing culture of a region that happens to practice a particular religion, and sometimes that can cross religious boundaries. Um, so again, this is a step forward. This is important for the region. So if um, they're able to make this step forward, other countries may be able to follow, and this could be a good step towards uh, bringing a more universal values to the region that a lot of Western countries have. So that is my time today. Ended on a positive note. This is Josh Mazzella with Cultural Catholics signing off.